Good morning children, and welcome once again to this part of the video class for class 5 subject science. Now children, till now we have done two chapters. First one was the circulatory system, and next we did about food and health. Now today we are going to start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 4. Topic is pollination. Now before I go on to explain about pollination, let me first talk about the flowers. Now flower is the most delicate and soft part of the plant which grows above the soil. That is, it is a part of the shoot system which grows on the branches. Now some flowers may grow singly, or it may grow in clusters. We say that a flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Now these flowers, they stay for a short time, and then it develops into fruits, and the fruit bears the seeds, and each seed is capable of germinating into a new plant. That is why we say flower is the reproductive part of the plant. It contains the reproductive parts, that is the male parts as well as the female part. But before we discuss about them, the processes involved there that takes place within the flower, first I would like to take an example of flowers and show you the different parts a flower consists of. So here on the board I have drawn a picture of a flower. Now this picture is of a China rose. You know what is China rose? China rose, that is also called hibiscus. This is hibiscus. It comes normally in this red color, and you must have seen that it is offered to the deities in the temple. So that's another part. So this is a picture of a flower, and now I am going to label the different parts of the flower. You all must have seen but not really noticed the parts of it. Now let us label them one by one. First, let us see from the down. You will see that when you pluck the flower, you have a stalk. This stalk with which the flower is attached to the branch is called the pedicel. What is it called? It is called the pedicel. Now as you come up, you see in the green leaf-like outgrowths. Now this green leaf-like outgrowth is called the sepals. These are the sepals. Sepal. Next you see the colored portion of the flower. That is the petals. These are the petals. The red color that I have here, it is called the petals. Now within the flower you will find a slender like outgrowths coming from the sides. These are the filaments. These are the filaments. Filament, and supported, and top of it, the filament supports a structure known as the anther. This is the anther. Actually this together, the filament and the anther together makes up the what is known as the androecium. So that together makes up the, I don't have place here but I am just writing here, androecium, right? Next, if you see within the flower there is a slender growth like, that means in the middle of the flower you find a growth. So this is the female part of the flower. So on the top, that is a disc-like structure, that is the stigma. We call it the stigma. Then the long slender tube-like structure, that is the style. That is the style. Next, an oval-shaped structure, that is called the ovary. That is called the ovary. Now this three together makes up the female part of the flower, that is called the pistil. That is called the pistil. Now these are the different parts of the flower. Usually in some plants the flowers are very showy, very attractive, scented, whereas in some flowers it may be very small or unnoticeable without any scent. So it depends upon the plants. Now we are going to talk about the different parts of the plants. Let us talk about now the different parts of the plants. First, a flower generally has 4 parts, namely the calyx. I have labeled there the sepals. Actually the sepals are the units of a calyx. The calyx is made up of this is the calyx. This is the calyx, the sepals. The units are called the sepals. Next we have got the corolla. The petals are the units of a corolla. The androecium, the anther and the filament makes up the androecium, and the gynoecium, or it is also called the pistil. These are also known as the whorls of the plants, the parts of the plant or the whorls of the plants. Now the bottom you see that the flower is attached to the branch of the plant with its stalk called the pedicel. The uppermost swollen part of the pedicel is known as the thalamus. Now where is the thalamus? It is a swollen part. Actually this is the swollen part. This is the thalamus. This is the thalamus. This is the thalamus. Now each part is involved in certain functions. So it is good to know about each whorls of the plants. Namely the calyx, the corolla, the androecium and the gynoecium, that is the pistil. So now we will talk about the different parts of the plants in a bit details. We will see about the different whorls of the plants. Generally, a flower consists of 4 whorls. First whorl consists of the sepals. The second whorl is of petals. The third whorl is of a stamen, that means anther and filament together will make up the stamen. This is the stamen. And the fourth whorl consists of that stigma, style and ovary, that is called the pistil. Now let's talk about the calyx. The calyx is the outermost or the first whorl of the flower. It consists of green leaf-like structure called the sepals. I have labeled their sepals, you can see there. So these are sepals. Now sepals protect the flower during the bud stage. Usually a flower has 5 or more sepals, and it is just above the pedicel. That just above the pedicel, these are the sepals which make up the calyx. Next is of a corolla. Now that is the second whorl of the flower. It consists of colored leaf-like structures called the petals. You know that the petals are the most showy part of the flower, that is the petals. And petals are usually bright colored. However, some flowers have white or light colored petals. Now these produces scents. What is the function? The main function is to attract the insect which helps in pollination of the flower. We will talk about that pollination a little later on, but just to brief you about the petals. Next is the androecium. The third whorl of the flower is called the androecium. It consists of long, thin and needle-like structure called the stamens. I mentioned the stamen. The long slender stalk of the stamen is called the filament. The long slender, that you see that thin tube-like structure, that is the filament, and a swollen tip called anther. So this is the anther. So this anther consists of dust-like structures. These are called the pollen grains. They produce dust-like particles called the pollen grains. Now these pollen grains consist of the male reproductive cells. They are the male reproductive cell. Therefore, androecium is called the male reproductive part of the plant. The next is the gynoecium. The gynoecium is the innermost whorl of a flower. It is situated in the center of the flower. It consists of female reproductive units called pistil. And here I have labeled here, this pistil consists of the stigma, the style and the ovary. A gynoecium may consist of a single pistil or a group of pistil. Now just now I said a pistil has three parts: the stigma, style and the ovary. The swollen base of the pistil is the ovary. You see that the swollen part, this is the swollen part, this is called the ovary. The ovary contains one or many egg-like structures called the ovules. Now these structures, these are the ovules. These are the ovules. Later, the ovary develops into a fruit and its ovules develop into the seeds. The long, thin and tube-like structure of the pistil is called the style, which joins stigma to ovary. The swollen and the sticky tip of the pistil is the stigma. So here this stigma is a bit sticky type. So when the insect sits on that, it can easily dust off its pollen. The stigma traps the pollen grain that falls on it. So this is about the different whorls of the flower. So today we have read about the different parts of the flower, and we also saw the male and the female reproductive part of the flower. Next we are going to talk about a bit more details of the male and the female part. Then I'll explain you about the process that is involved in the formation of the fruits. First process is the pollination that we are going to do in the next class. So for today, till here I am going to teach you only, and along with this we are going to send you a short assignment that again has to be done in your exercise copies. I hope you are enjoying this lesson too, and till then, thank you and meet you in the next class.